headlines.
Jacques Villeneuve crosses the line to win the British Grand Prix and take 10 superb World Championship points to close within 15 points of his teammate Damon Hill in the World Championship. It is a long way from being lost for Villeneuve as Gerhard Berger finishes in second position for Benetton, his highest place of the year. Mika Häkkinen is going to finish in his highest place of the year. So it's a very heartening race for Berger and for Häkkinen. Not so heartening for Benetton because Alesi out of the race when he was in a good third position. And there is the Finn, Mika Häkkinen, who's now totally recovered from his Adelaide crash last year, a very nasty one indeed, and scores 4 vital World Championship points for himself and the McLaren team. And McLaren will now be fourth in the World Championship for constructors, only 3 points behind Ferrari, as Rubens Barrichello exits Woodcote, crosses the line in the Jordan Peugeot now is Martin Brundle. Yes, Martin Brundle has finished 6th, because as 5th place David Coulthard brings the second McLaren home to 5th position. A very good race for the Woking team. Martin Brundle had been lapped and has therefore finished the race. Only 5 cars and drivers go the full distance at Silverstone, and there is the one that did the race distance in the shortest time of all, 1 hour, 33 minutes, 0.8 seconds, Jacques Villeneuve. 10 points at Silverstone, and that lifts his score to 48 points, just 15 behind Damon Hill. And that is 1 race win and a second place. That would do very nicely if Damon didn't score any further points at those 2 races. It's going to be a very close thing, I think, in the World Championship of 1996 before it's over, because we've got a lot of racing still to go, a lot of countries to visit, and Villeneuve can feel very, very proud and happy with himself. I've little doubt that he will not show very much emotion. I put myself in mind of what Nigel Mansell would be doing on the podium if he was here and had won this race, but I don't expect Villeneuve to do anything but look very self-effacing about it. He's an incredibly self-contained, his own man, and whilst he will undoubtedly be absolutely delighted, and whilst he doesn't like to be reminded too often of the fact that he is the son of a great motor racing great driver, as Damon Hill's the son of a great ex-world champion Graham Hill, he will be very happy indeed. Charlie Whiting in the blue shirt, the FI technical delegate, but that is the man of the race, little Jacques Villeneuve. And Jock Clear, the first man to embrace him, is his race engineer. It's a team effort at Williams all the way, and the team effort shows most of all as Villeneuve is spoken to by Erwin Gollner, the team trainer, but the team effort most of all was between Villeneuve and Jock Clear, because they were the two that set up the car for it to go as well as it did, for it to qualify as well as it did, and for Jacques to take that superb first position at Silverstone. Well, he doesn't look too unhappy, does he? I said he was self-contained, and he is, but he's obviously a very happy man, as he talks quite calmly about what went on in only his 10th Grand Prix. So he's now had in his short career a pole position, he's had 2 wins, he's had 4 second places, he's had a 3rd position, and he made the fastest lap in the British Grand Prix, so that lifts his score of fastest laps to 4 and his World Championship points to 42 from only 10 Grand Prix. So the car's going to Parc Fermé now, where they are examined. The drivers have to be weighed. Martin Brundle will be getting on the scales, and they subtract the weight of the driver from the combined weight of the car and the driver to make sure that the car is not underweight. And Mika Salo was actually excluded from one of the races this year because he had a problem with the car and lost an enormous amount of oil, as a result of which, when his weight was taken away. There is Mika Salo, incidentally. There is Mika Salo. 7th position. He's just failed to get World Championship points. David Coulthard congratulates the winner. 5th position in the British Grand Prix, Coulthard. Tyrrell will probably be comparatively happy because, and you're looking now at Mika Hakkinen, although Ukko Katayama went out of the race on the 49th lap, they've had so many reliability problems, primarily with the engine in the Tyrrell team, that they'll be very happy to see Mika Salo up in that 7th position, just one place off the points. A World Championship point would have been a rich reward, but it was not to be. Drivers' Championship. Damon Hill leads, 15 points ahead of Jacques Villeneuve. 3rd position, Michael Schumacher, no points at Silverstone. He's now only 1 point ahead of Jean Lacey, as he was when this race began, because Lacey retired too. But we've got 3 drivers tying for 5th position. David Coulthard, Mika Hakkinen and Gerhard Berger. And in the Constructors' Championship, Williams are now quite incredible, 70 points. I think they're only about 30 points or so off clinching the Constructors' Championship very early in the season. Benetton are 2nd, and they're 6 points ahead of Ferrari, and McLaren are 3 points behind Ferrari in 4th position. Jordan are 5th, because they scored twice in this race, and Ligier take that last position with 12 points in total. So up the steps of the John Brown Centre, Jimmy Brown, the Jimmy Brown Centre, named after the great secretary of the British Racing Drivers Club, who did so much to make Silverstone what it is today, go the leading finishers. Soon to appear in the interview room and tell us how they saw the race. But first of all, out onto the podium for the champagne and the plaudits of the crowd. Not, one has to say, the most exciting British Grand Prix ever, but certainly a jolly interesting one.
Yes, I think the nice thing about the Grand Prix here is that it's certainly livened up the championship, and whilst I'm very much hope Damon Hill will go on to win, and I'm sure he will, certainly it's going to get closer because of the extra 10 points for the winner, Jacques Villeneuve.
48 points. Drivers may thought they should be making their way off the podium.
And again, unless I'm very much mistaken, there will be a roar from the crowd, the sporting crowd, to greet the winner, Jacques Villeneuve, as he steps out onto the podium, followed by Gerhard Berger and Mika Hakkinen. 3 different constructors, 3 different, very different drivers.
Canada. And now for the winning constructor, the British national anthem for Williams.
And the British National Anthem, of course, for the winning Williams Constructors team. And the winner's trophy goes to Jacques Villeneuve, and it's handed over by His Royal Highness Prince Michael of Kent, who is the President of the Royal Automobile Club. And a delighted Jacques Villeneuve holds up the magnificent gold trophy, and Ian Lang, who is the President of the Board of Trade, gives the trophy for the winning constructor to Dickie Stanford, who's representing Williams. The second place trophy goes from the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Kenneth Clark, to Gerhard Berger from Austria. We saw his hands being bandaged, and he'll be happy to be back on the podium, because he's only been there once this year. And an equally happy Mika Häkkinen gets his trophy from Kenneth Clark. So, from Canada, the winner, from Austria, the second place man, from Finland, the third position man, and it's a victory for the Williams team. It's a second place for the Benetton team. It's a third place for the McLaren team. An excellent race for McLaren, all in all, who continue their progress upwards, which has been pretty painful this year. But both their drivers finish in the top 5, thanks to David Coulthard being in that position. And the same thing can be said of Jordan. They continued their progress upwards, with Rubens Barrichello 4th, with Martin Brundle in 6th position. And a good race therefore for Peugeot, who powered the two Jordans of Barrichello and Brundle. And the weather stayed good all through the British Grand Prix, and now the first three will go into the interview room, and we will be able to hear from all three of them in general, from, I'm sure, a pretty low key, Jacques Villeneuve in particular, how it was for them. And that is the first 10, as you can see. I've already given you the first 6 with confirmation that Barrichello, Coulthard and Brundle were the other 3 World Championship scorers. Mika Salo 7th, Heinz Harald Frentzen and Herbert brought the 2 Sauber Fords home 8th and 9th. Verstappen finishes 10th for Arrows, and Giancarlo Fisichella takes 11th place, 2 laps down for Minardi Ford, who won't be unhappy because they get no testing at the Silverstone circuit by virtue of the fact that they're an Italian team, and they have the Ford customer engine, which has much less power than the works cars here. But retirements from Alesi, from Parnish, from Pedro Diniz, from Damon Hill, from Pedro Lamy, from Ricardo Rosset, from Ukyo Katayama, Eddie Irvine and Michael Schumacher mean that in particular it has been another, sadly, and I really do not like saying this, a demeaning race for Ferrari. Whatever the reasons, it means that in the last 3 races they have had 6 failures to finish. Both of their drivers have failed to finish in France, in Canada before, and in Britain afterwards. So now the crowd will start to make their way home. It took them a long time to get in. It'll take them a long time to get out too. But the revised track layout at Silverstone, which was shown by that reprofiled corner at Stowe, has seen an extremely good race. You're looking at the Parc Fermé now, where the cars go in for examination by the FIA officials. But now let's hear from those top 3 drivers.
Well, Jacques, your second career win in a total of 10 races. You must be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, I'm very happy, and you know, after the first win, we had a few good results, but we're most of the time second behind Damon. So you know, we really wanted to put one on him.
You had a good start, and then you pushed very hard initially, building up a good lead. That must have been very reassuring.
Yeah, we had a pretty good start. Jean-Lézy had an even better one, and it was a good fight into turn 1. But once I was in the lead and I knew Damon was in second, I pushed really hard. So if he was able to get second and then he could run quickly, at least I would have a big gap.
Halfway through, you built up a lead of about 30 seconds. Did you have any difficulty concentrating once you were so far out ahead?
No, because after the pit stop, I was just behind Jean, and I knew he was on 1 pit stop, so it was important to keep pushing until I had finished my second pit stop to see where we were.
Gerhard, we haven't seen you since San Marino. It must be great to be back in the top three.
Well, yeah, it's a hard season for me, for my team. So that's why we are very happy about the result today. I mean, I had not a very good position in the starting grid. My start was okay, but Eddie Irvine was quite hard in the first corner and he goes for it. And I didn't want to take any risk because I saw I need to get points, I need to get the team confident, I need points for the construction championship, so I didn't get any fight. And once I was 8, so I just pushed. I know I was on 1 stop and the most of the cars in front of me was on 2 stops. So I just had to keep with them going, and I know I was going to be in front of them all. And once I had 3, I pushed very hard. I slowly catched Jean. And just when I was behind him, I think he starts to get a bit brake problems. Naturally myself too, and I start to play a bit on the brake balance, and I get it just right until some laps before the end. And then I had really brake problems in the slowdown.
And we saw that on the television. We saw a pit board with cool brakes for you. Do you think you could have passed Jean if neither of you had had no problems?
Well, you never know. You know, I mean, I catched him in the second set of tires because in the first set I wasn't happy with the tire pressure. Car didn't handle nice, but after I stopped and I had the second set of tires on, I felt good and I could come immediately closer to Jean. So you never know. Last race I couldn't overtake him because he didn't do a mistake. This race I don't know, maybe I could.
Mika, your first finish in the top 3 this year. The last time we saw you was in Japan. Bearing in mind what's happened in Australia and everything, this must be a very emotional moment for you to be back on the podium.
Well, I don't know if it's emotional, but it is fantastic feeling. I mean, these 2 guys were too quick today. I mean, there's no chance to catch them or overtake them or anything, and I just to keep my position and go maximum what the car can go. And he brought me a 3rd position, which is absolutely more than I expected to come here in this British Grand Prix.
You had a fantastic start and then had quite a long battle with Damon. When Damon made a move and had a car failure going off the track, were you aware of that? Could you see that in your mirrors or not?
Yeah, he was all the time, you know, very close to me on the first part of the section, which I knew that his car was definitely better in the first section. And he was always catching me hanging straight and straining my tail in the stall. And then again I pull away in a couple of corners and there he came again behind and again one point we came out of the complex to main pit straight where is the start-finish line. And we were heading for the Cops, which is the very first corner of the track. And there he was again very close behind. And I think suddenly he disappeared from the mirrors and I guess he went a bit wide.
Jacques, Hockenheim, do you know the circuit there at all? What are your feelings about going onto the German Grand Prix?
No, I've never been there. It's a pretty quick track. From what I've heard, it's not too complex, and we've got a pretty efficient car on downforce, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Okay, now some thoughts on the race in your own language.
Our thanks to Alistair Watkins, the media delegate of the FIA, the son, incidentally, of Professor Sid Watkins, who masterminds the FIA's medical facilities so superbly. And I remind you that after 61 laps at Silverstone, where thankfully the weather got better and better, where we expected it to get worse and worse, Jacques Villeneuve took his 2nd Grand Prix victory in his 10th Formula One race by 19 seconds from Gerhard Berger, with Mika Häkkinen in 3rd place for McLaren, Rubens Barrichello in 5th place for Jordan, David Coulthard in 5th position for McLaren, and the Jordan of Martin Brundle in 6th position.
And our thanks go to Murray Walker, to Jonathan Palmer and to Tony Jardine as well. Jacques Villeneuve achieving something that his late father Gilles Villeneuve never managed. He's won the British Grand Prix and he's won it in real style and added some genuine spice to this growing championship battle. Now in the rest of Sunday Grandstand this afternoon we will of course keep you in touch with any further reaction to this afternoon's race. We've also got highlights of the British Touring Car Championship. Important victory that for Jacques Villeneuve from Gerhard Berger in 2nd. 2 McLarens finishing in the points, Mika Häkkinen in 3rd and David Coulthard in. So relaxed now with a protest coming in from Benetton against the front wing end plate of Jacques Williams. What can you tell us about this?
Well, it's all a bit complicated, Steve, and I don't pretend to know the exact interpretation of what's going on. But the gist of it is, as you said, I understand that Benetton have said not that the front wing end plate does not comply with the regulations in terms of specification and dimensions, but there is some letter of the law interpretation which is alleged to be causing the trouble. I say alleged because the stewards are still sitting, or they were when I came in, and we haven't had an answer, so we're getting smoke signals which give us a vague idea of what's going on. But if the protest is upheld, it will mean, of course, that Benetton have won with Gerhard Berger, and that Häkkinen and Barrichello move up to second and third. It will mean that Damon Hill's 25-point lead in the championship remains, and it will mean, frankly, I'm sorry to say, that Villeneuve will have lost a very well-merited victory from something which did not affect, in my understanding, the performance of the car at all. It would all be a very great pity, and I hope it's not upheld.
Well, the stewards are still sitting, they're still talking, they've been in there for well over half an hour or so they're taking this very seriously indeed. It threatens to become a victim of pit lane politics, doesn't it?
Yes, it'll be a cause célèbre whatever happens, but as I say, if it's upheld, it will be for purely technical reasons. No one can reasonably accuse Williams of cheating. They're just not that sort of an organisation. Nobody is in Formula One these days because the penalty you pay is so massive in terms of lost sponsorship, confidence and so on, that it just isn't worth getting involved for something as fiddling as that.
Let's assume it's not upheld and it's a 15-point championship lead that Damon Hill now has over Jacques Villeneuve. His mind would have got a little concentrated this afternoon, Damon's, and the championship battle is still on.
I was fascinated. When I saw Damon in the pit lane, I said to myself, it wasn't Damon's fault. You could tell from the way he was talking and his body language, and instead of the sort of hunched and dejected Damon that we saw walking back after last year's collision with Schumacher, he felt that it wasn't his fault. My understanding there is it was a front wheel bearing that was at fault, caused something to seize up, and Damon went to go off. It was an absolute mirror image of what happened at Hockenheim last year. But Damon has lost 10 points through no fault of his own. But as he would be the first to say, that is Formula One. Some you win, some you lose. Some you win you don't deserve to, some you lose that you don't deserve to, and he certainly lost one today that he didn't deserve to. I was very interested when he said that he was going to be on a one-stop strategy, and he reckoned he could have won the race, because if he says that, you can be sure that he's right.
They now go on to Hockenheim in a fortnight's time. Circuit knowledge seems to be a key to the way Jacques Villeneuve is performing.
It won't affect him at Hockenheim. I mean, Hockenheim, basically, you stick it in sixth gear when you leave the stadium and rush up through the forest until you get to the S-curve. Then you stick it in sixth gear and rush down the other side of the forest into the stadium. And somebody of Villeneuve's ability will learn the track in 12 laps, I should think. It will not be a handicap to him in Germany.
You make Formula One sound so easy. Murray, thanks very much indeed. We'll keep our eyes on the development of that protest.